I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
How is everyone doing? Coming to you live from Studio 4 at AfterBuzz TV. AfterBuzz TV Wrestling and Sports presents WWE Hall of Fame Wishes. How's everyone doing? My name is Flobo Boyce, and we have a show for you. This is, I can't say that, it's almost like a structure. It's a cool idea. We're going to crown the greatest faction that's not currently in the Hall of Fame. But before we do that, we have to introduce our panel because we got the heavy hitters to discuss this. On my far left, this guy here is known as a wrestling professor, and he's all over. Talking about after 83 weeks and the YouTube space. My favorite pundit and yours, Mr. Steve Kaufman.
Why, hello, thank you. I think I was one of your host wishes.
Yeah, I was. You were
Hall
like
of Fame.
short
It was
list.
very short list
Yeah.
of wishes.
Yeah.
Wishes you hope, and you hoped it, you manifested it, and I'm here.
Yeah, you didn't tell me no. That's all everyone else kind of did. But on his right, he has, quote, the guy with the most valuable opinion on the panel. Give it up for the AEW Dynamite AfterBuzz show host, Jack Farmer.
You are looking at the meat in a wrestling pundit sandwich. I like being in the middle of you guys. This is
All
good
right.
times.
And also behind the boards in the booth, he is a hand of the board, the game master himself. Give it up for Vito.
What's going on, you guys? You can't really see me on the screen right now. I didn't put myself up, but I will later. Welcome to the game, boys.
That's a tease.
That is a tease. So how it works is like this. We have a bracket of some of the most influential factions this time, and we're going to go one by one, match per matchup, and to find out which one we all collectively think isn't currently in the Hall of Fame, but should be. That's our AfterBuzz TV WWE Hall of Fame wish.
And here right now is our bracket.
Look at that from different eras all over. Anyone there stands out as far as placement here? Sorry, guys.
Nation of Domination getting a #1 seed.
Oh yeah, that's
Definitely stands out, or #1 by, round one by #1 seed. Corporation makes sense because that's like dozens of people.
Dozens. Jack?
Yeah, as an old school WCW fan, I love seeing the Jersey Triad represented on this bracket.
That could be a dark horse here. I want to give a shout out to the members, the men and women, a part of the AfterBuzz TV Wrestling and Sports Board of Trustees who pulled together this list for us today. But let's get right into it. Dangerous Alliance against Evolution. Now, these are two groups that are influential for a lot of different reasons, different generations, different promotions even. In the case of Dangerous Alliance, thoughts about this?
I am shocked that this is a matchup this early in the tournament. This could be a final, I think, because both of these are really, really big hitters.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Steve Kaufman, do you agree with Jack Farmer?
I do agree in the widespread landscape of professional wrestling in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
Both of these factions, for completely different reasons, are both influential and dominant.
Come on. This is not the Mutual Admiration Society. You're talking about which one is better. I got to give that.
I think the Dangerous Alliance. I thought you were talking about the matchup.
Evolution
I'm serious,
is
no.
clearly the better of the two.
Well, why is that,
without question, because it came in, it was a top tier stable right at the beginning. Every single member is a Hall of Fame individual, at least bound, and they ended the right way before it got stale. It's a perfect, stable run.
Okay.
So,
Steve, thoughts?
if we're talking wishes.
We're talking wishes, baby.
So,
Wishes.
practicality does not have to come
What's
into play.
practicality?
So, practicality, you would think Arn Anderson would go in by himself. Paul Heyman would go in by himself. Sherry Martel has not gone in.
I don't think she has, but she should.
Well, posthumous is now a whole thing that she'll get one of the in memoriam inductions.
That counts, Steve. You're so dismissive.
But no, I'm not dismissing it, but it's not the same as being able. It's not the same as actually being able to go out there. I think the Dangerous Alliance influenced the kind of wrestling and team wrestling, faction wrestling, the NWO, D-Generation X, that allowed for Evolution to ever exist.
Oh, that is a good point. That is a good point. The Dangerous Alliance is definitely around there. I know there are some different iterations of that faction, the Dangerous Alliance, I do appreciate, but I gotta give it Evolution. And here's the reason why. It was a perfect set of having the old, the present, the past, the future. Randy Orton was made, Batista was made. What's it called? Motorhead,
Flair?
wasn't it?
No.
Ric Flair. That one verse never came up. Motorhead, that song, it was like my gym theme song for a long time. That one and Mark Henry's, when I'm going to work out, Evolution is mystery. Like, like.
I mean, look, I love the Dangerous Alliance, and you're right. They are so stacked with so many people amongst all the different variations of them. But I think if you were to take a microphone out to WrestleMania weekend this weekend and just ask random people, name as many factions as you can, I think a lot of them would forget that the Dangerous Alliance was ever a thing.
But I think that's what I think we differ on what the Hall of Fame should do.
Right.
I think the Hall of Fame should elevate things like that most people don't know about. Versus Evolution, which every modern fan knows some form of evolution. They might not understand the importance of the Dangerous Alliance. Also, how will Don Morocco, Eddie Gilbert, or the Dark Patriot ever get a
They won't.
Hall of Fame?
Look, let's break it down for a second. We know what a hall is. We know what the word "of" means. But word number 3 is fame, ladies and gentlemen. And if people don't know you, how can we say you're famous?
Oh, I'm sorry. So Paul Heyman, Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, Larry Zbyszko, Medusa, Rick Rude, Michael P.S. Hayes, and one stunning Steve Austin.
Oh, we gotta go.
Are those not famous
Gentlemen,
people?
let's get an answer. Who are you picking
Let's get a
between
vote.
the Alliance and Evolution?
Game Master's upset, guys.
I am not upset. I am just moving you along.
All in favor for the Dangerous Alliance.
One.
Evolution. I gotta give it to.
I go Evolution.
Evolution's there. I gotta give
Evolution
it that as
moves
well.
on, gentlemen. Thank you very much for this round. So we are taking out Dangerous Alliance. Hold on, let me get the proper tool for this.
Okay.
We are taking out Dangerous Alliance, and we are moving
I'd like to
forward
be known. I don't feel
with
good
Evolution.
about that win.
Yeah, I don't. Can we just? I mean, can we talk about like which iteration was better for the Dangerous Alliance while you get that done?
Yeah, I
feel
think
like-
it's worth
I
throwing
think,
in real
I think
quick.
the WCW version is pretty solid.
I think the WCW version is pretty solid. I think the ECW version has a lot of low-key hits, like 911 or Shane Douglas or the Tasmaniac or Sabu or Sherry Martel.
Yeah.
I think if we had to pick one variation for the Hall of Fame, it'd be the WCW one because so many stars. But personally, I loved the new Dangerous Alliance that we were talking off air. C.W. Anderson is one of my underrated favorites.
Let's go. So the Misfits in action are against the Jersey Triad. WCW all night long, baby. Just a little bit of backstory. The Jersey Triad, all guys, even though Canyon was really from Jersey, got pulled into that thing. Whereas the Misfits in action were all technically fired on air, and they came together as different characters to skirt Bischoff's ire there. I have a soft spot for both of these teams, so I'm kind of in the middle. I need you guys to convince me. Jack Farm, I'll start with you. Misfits or Jersey Triad?
Well, we'll get into it a little bit later, but I'm not a fan of the Misfits in action. So I'm a Jersey Triad guy. I think you got DDP, who grew from nothing to become one of the an all-time favorite for a lot of people, and Canyon, who was imitating DDP, which I think imitation
Positively Canyon.
and you had Bam Bam Bigelow, which as a kid an all-time favorite of mine. So I got to put the Jersey Triad in there.
As much as I would love to be a contrarian,
Do it.
I can't. The Misfits. I'm looking at the Misfits in action right here.
Okay.
Like we're talking the Hall of Fame.
Yes, the logo
Right.
says that.
I'm the professor of wrestling, and I had to Google him right quick.
Right? Really?
If the Misfits in action, that
His
is
logo, Major Stash.
Yeah, G.I. Bro?
debuted
General
in 2000,
Election?
disbanded in 2001.
Okay.
Captain Cajun, come on.
Okay.
Sergeant AWOL.
Let's just say this. Let's just say for our counterpoint, because I have to go find one now. I was hoping for you to be.
I was trying, man. I was really.
You could argue that the members of the Jersey Triad didn't really need to be in that group, whereas everyone in the Misfits in action were collectively better being in that faction. Isn't that worth a little bit of value there?
Well, I think the Island of Misfit Toys can be a fun thing. It doesn't necessarily always mean it's a great thing. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of them were able to shine being a part of a stable, but I think it was more of a crutch than it was something helping them to move up.
Also, case in point, the Job Squad aren't even on this bracket.
Yeah, but
I would argue if there were a bracket before this bracket and it was the Job Squad
The bracket.
versus the Misfits in
Qualifying
action, the Job
match.
Squad would wipe the floor with them.
You know what? Yeah, that's a fair point. If we're gonna move a team like this forward,
Yeah.
Job Squad needs to be on this bracket.
I'm just offering ideas.
No, I think we all know where we're at here.
If I had a gavel, that would be when I'd bang it. Steve just won.
I just want to say, I'm gonna say, "Pin me" is the best phrase in wrestling ever. So let's take it to a vote real quick. I mean,
All right, gentlemen. What's the vote.
Vince McMahon, is that you?
Yes.
The Misfits in action?
No one for
0.
Misfits.
Well.
Straight sweep for Jersey Triad. They move
All
on.
right, Jersey Triad moves up, and we've got Misfits out. So it will be Jersey Triad versus the Corporation.
So Vito, the game master, walk me through the next bracket. I want you to give me the intro for this one.
So the next bracket, we've got Nation of Domination versus
Domination.
Evolution.
Evolution in the victory. Thank you so much for doing that. I'm so glad I could do
Gentlemen,
that.
I am
So
so,
good, we're gonna get a
excited to hear where
copyright
you go.
Let's talk about this. Wrestling in the 90s and 2000s collide. The Nation of Domination against Evolution. I like Motorhead, and I do like The Rock. And Dino Brown was in that group, and not the Evolution. I don't know. I'm torn. I'm always torn. Help me out here, Steve Kaufman.
I side with Nation of Domination here. It's once again, we're not talking about practicality, because if you're gonna get The Rock to turn up for a Hall of Fame induction ceremony, you're gonna induct him by himself.
That's Flex
Mark
Cavano.
Henry's already in. Owen Hart, his family has to approve it, but we don't actually have to worry about that here at Hall of Fame Wishes. So I want Owen Hart, Mark Henry, The Rock, Godfather, and D'Lo Brown. Those are my 5. That's my team. I want them in.
D'Lo was last? Are you kidding me? Okay. Jack Farmer.
Not good. Listen, we know everything we need to know about the Nation of Domination. They've got some people who are great, but I don't think for any of them it was their best moment was Nation of Domination. I don't think any of them were like the highlight of my career was Nation of Domination. They all had bigger moments, except for maybe D'Lo Brown.
Eurocontinental champion D'Lo Brown.
I know.
Evolution is a mystery, but I know that they're better than the Nation of Domination, so I think they got to go through.
I gotta be honest with you, man. The Nation of Domination, well, you know what? The Evolution matchup is pretty difficult. I'm not trying to say that they deserve to go over them handedly, but you can argue the Nation of Domination really changed the fabric of what stables can do. They weren't just like, we're running roughshod like the Disciples of Apocalypse. They actually had a message underneath of what they stood for. No? Does that not count?
I do think
Help me out, Jack.
they were actually a very cool group in that they were actually addressing certain things and doing certain things that were very cool. But like I said, I think if you were to ask Farouk, he was a leader and it wasn't his best run because he had his time in the APA, but he also had his time as a world champion in WCW. The Rock did a few things after that. It gets a little fuzzy for me. I can't remember
What's that
exactly
guy
what
up
he
to
did.
right now?
I don't know, man.
I don't know. He's probably nothing.
Rock, where are you now?
I think I saw him at a WrestleCon, maybe. I don't know.
Next to Virgil.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Henry went on again to bigger and better things. But I think it was cool because it gave them some shine. I also think they were also never the biggest stable in the company when they were around. There was always better stables around when they were around.
Okay.
Well, D-Generation X was like the only stable. They really there weren't as many there were a lot of like trash stables, and then the Nation of Domination and D-Generation X.
Right, but there was those weird spin-offs too, like with Crush and Savio. We got having their own thing as well. But I know we're getting off topic.
No, but I think as a launch pad, I think you're right that they are more of a launch pad for a bunch of amazing careers.
Wu-Tang Clan of this. It's the
Exactly.
Wu-Tang Clan, yeah.
But like, do the Wu-Tang Clan not deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I think because Rock and Roll encompasses music.
Yeah,
now, if you look at their list,
Right, it has a spirit. Let's get a vote here. Evolution.
Vote.
We've got 1 for Evolution.
And for the Nation of Domination. Oh,
We've got 2
upset.
for
I
the
didn't
Nation
think
of
that was going to
Domination.
happen. I can't believe this.
Fellas, the Nation of Domination does not move on, but Evolution does.
Wait, what?
No.
That was the opposite.
it's the
Wait.
the
No, I
opposite.
said Nation of Domination does not move on,
You
correct?
wrapped up. Oh, yeah. No, Nation of Domination moves on.
Evolution.
Nation
lost.
of
Evolution.
Domination moves on. I am
Yes.
sorry, fellas. My bad.
It's easy to get that confused. 'Cause
Whatever, Jack.
So
I think that's just another mystery of evolution.
Evolution is out. Nation of Domination continues on to the next bracket. So, fellas, we've got in our next group the Radicalz versus Team Angle.
This is actually my favorite matchup of the card. Pure wrestling, a little bit of a Flobito delight being that young, seeing both of those groups appear on SmackDown. Jack Farmer, Team Angle. Shelton Benjamin, Charlie Haas, and Kurt Angle himself. The Radicalz, we're talking about Perry Saturn, Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, and Eddie Guerrero.
This is the hardest one for me, looking at this bracket, because I feel like every argument I would make about one, I could make about the other. I'm going to go with the Radicalz here.
Okay.
One, because I'm a WCW fan, and I like seeing the
Armbar.
WCW guys get some love and get some respect. I think them moving from WCW to WWF at the time was a huge moment for us wrestling fans, seeing that many people defect from one to the other that were people who were being built up. So I think they meant a lot. And so I think Radicalz would be my pick.
Ooh.
And I don't think they're going in any other way than as a wish.
The Radicalz are also my pick, but for, I wouldn't say different reasons, but the factions in wrestling, aside from the NWO and Generation X and a couple of other great examples that were, I don't want to say we're cherry picking, but aren't as big as those two that are being actually honored.
Yeah.
You lose out on teams like the Radicalz that literally came in and radicalized the way you saw the business. Because up until that moment, you felt that the WCW guys were the WCW guys and the WWF guys were the WWF guys. And it was that true moment of like, oh, everyone's jumping ship everywhere and anything can happen. And you got two, we'll go with two future world champions coming out of the Radicalz. And they weren't the one you would think.
Yeah.
If you were to ask anyone involved, unless they were kind of like ribbing you, they would tell you Perry Saturn was the one they were looking at this group.
Oh yeah, he was my favorite in that group.
I call it the dad test, where like if I'm watching wrestling with my dad who doesn't really watch wrestling,
yeah,
and the person that he reacts to, that's the person that's really going somewhere. The dad test.
Yeah.
And my dad, upon first seeing Perry Saturn, was like, "That guy has zero body fat."
Yeah.
And looks like a murderer.
Yeah.
He looks he looks like wrestling's version of a mercenary. Like he just looks stone cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was my favorite in the flock as well.
Yes, for a
That's
very similar
group.
reason. I mean, he did a lot of weird stuff.
stuff.
He did a lot of weird stuff in WCW. He did a lot of weird stuff post Radicalz, and like, I think that was a bigger testament to his ability on screen. Perry Saturn. Also, we should all donate a little to his Patreon, his GoFundMe.
Oh, he has one?
I know he had one.
Well, I just want to get into it real quick because I know we're short on time, but I was maybe I'm being weird here, contrarian. I want to say Team Angle, as great as the Radicalz are or were, I guess at the same time. I really felt like they came in as a unit and they kind of went their separate ways. Team Angle was more of a cohesive unit between Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin, especially, and even when Angle was removed from that equation and became the world's greatest tag team, it just wasn't the same.
I felt with them, and one of the reasons that it holds me back from them is it felt more like Angle and his buddies than it did an actual faction.
Mm-hmm. Similarly, and the reason they're not on this list is Edge and the Edgeheads.
Okay.
Right.
Like I don't think Edge and I see this as kind of, they were an incredible accoutrement to a top level star.
It's way too fancy for the show, bro.
SAT words.
Who were then able. I work at you work at a restaurant. That's an SAT word. But then they go on and they can actually go on as a separate tag team and as singles guys or YouTube guys. In the case of the Edgeheads.
Let's get this vote in here. So let's say for
All right, gentlemen.
the Radicalz.
Let's get this vote.
Radicalz.
2 for Radicalz.
Okay.
Alrighty, gentlemen. That makes
put your
it
hand
4.
up for one.
I
in
will.
shame.
1 for Team Angle.
Doubling down.
So Team Angle is out, and the Radicalz move forward onto round 2. So the next round the round after this next bracket will be Nation of Domination versus the Radicalz. But this time around, we are going X Factor versus Team Canada.
So these two groups have like my favorite theme songs, Uncle Cracker for X Factor and that dope instrumental track for Team Canada. I assume it's the WCW version. I think that'd be the more prolific of the two. You know, the one in TNA had a longer tenure. Jack Farmer, Team Canada actually includes a wrestler you may have heard of called Lance Storm. Can you go more in detail about how he's somehow okay as a wrestler?
If I could be serious for a minute.
He's always serious.
I want to tell you the story about a guy named Lance Storm.
You brought
Lance Storm. If you notice here, it says to Jack here in the corner. Now this is what
He
a
looks
Hall of
bored
Famer,
there, too.
This is what a Hall of Famer does. Back in maybe 2000, I was part of an online auction this fella had. I lost, but he still sent me a signed picture. And ever since then, I've said I will always support Lance Storm, the GOAT, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait, hold on.
I have 2 questions.
Wait,
I'm
you're
sorry.
saying that Lance Storm bribed you in the past? You're gonna vote for him today?
Maybe.
Okay, I have 2 questions. One, what were you trying to purchase on an online auction?
It was a
Tights.
set of something he wore out to the ring. So it wasn't,
okay,
it
tights.
wasn't tights. But
Tights
it
or
wasn't
boots?
tights. It was like a warm up.
Okay.
Like a
and
thing.
2, that's That
I was
is
younger.
that is an
I probably
authentic.
lost out because it was like $50 or something.
That is an
I was like,
8x10, but that is an 8x10 on printed on LaserJet. That
Yeah,
is not
that's a
that is not the
dominatrix.
full glossy. You framed it. You framed it so it
you
has
go,
the
kid.
glossy, and I'm not hating. He still signed it and sent it to you, and that was very nice.
There was also a letter that is framed at home.
Oh,
that
no.
You wouldn't be able to read the
Maybe
letter.
it was a spare Jack autograph he just gave to you instead.
So I think
But to answer the question seriously, I felt like Team Canada was one of the real bright spots in late period WCW. And I thought with Lance Storm having 3 titles all at the same time, it was one of the biggest parts of the careers for a lot of people like Elix Skipper, probably Mike Awesome's best stuff after ECW. It was also, another career resurgence for Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Major Guns had some more time with them. I thought that they, again, were one of the bright spots of late period WCW. And the reason why I'm not a fan of the Misfits in Action, because they weren't fans of Team Canada.
Major Guns was in that group too.
And she smartened up and she joined this guy.
I walked
the
right to that
greatest
one. I just
wrestler
walked
on the
right.
planet.
I got super kicked right to that one. Steve Hoffman.
Really?
Let's talk about this. X Factor Team Canada.
So, first off, you've made an incredible claim for why Lance Storm should be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Right here.
Right
I
here.
don't know if that's actually a good claim for why Team
feel like-
Canada should be.
I feel like it's getting glared every time I try to show.
It'll be on your Instagram. You get to plug it. I kind of have to side with Team Canada here. Sean's gonna hate me.
Yeah.
But I have to side with Team Canada here. They got a bit more time on television.
Yeah.
It was a more over angle. It was similar to how we were talking about Team Angle was just Kurt Angle and then a bunch of guys who it turned out later were better aside from themselves. This was Lance Storm and a bunch of guys who were already good, and then a bunch of guys gathered around Lance Storm
Right.
who did better because they got to be a part of this group and did better a part of this group and away from this group. You're also forgetting Mike Awesome is a
Right.
part of this group.
That's true.
Someone who I don't know if he's going to get a solo induction in the WWE Hall of Fame for essentially the way he became world champion and what he did while he was world champion. Like rubs some people rightly or wrongly the wrong way. Understand though he was not being paid. Like,
Right.
I think there's one brush everyone likes to paint that story with where they forget the other side. It's, that guy was not being paid for a really long time.
I think Mike Awesome would totally be like the retro pick, like 10 years, 15 years later.
Yeah.
No, I want to say this. I was speaking to the board of trustees at the AfterBuzz TV Wrestling and Sports Alliance, and they were saying X Factor was a pretty cool group at the same time, but it's an unfair matchup. I really think Team Canada did a lot more as a faction. I think they were a lot more cohesive as a unit, and I hate the fact that Jack is all right with his 8x10. I'm going to vote for Team Canada as well. Is it an official vote? Vito!
So the official vote goes out right now, gentlemen. We've got 3 for Team Canada and none for X Factor. So X Factor does not move on.
Also-
and Team
also,
Canada does.
Are we gonna give we aren't gonna give Sean Waltman a third Hall of Fame ring that's not for him himself?
Yeah, pretty
That
much.
would be weird. He's just like
Thank you for your
faction wrestler.
service, Sean Waltman. Gentlemen, it is time to move on to the Jersey Triad versus the Corporation.
This is going to be fun. So the Corporation was part of one of the biggest storylines in professional wrestling in the late 90s. The Jersey Triad themselves were impactful in what they were, but they weren't really together for all period of time, but they did have a bunch of fans and supporters. Jack Farmer, walk me through this. Jersey Triad or the Corporation?
I'm a WCW guy. I love DDP. I
Mark.
love the things they did, but they've got no chance. No chance in hell.
Wow, that's really clever.
That was well played.
The Corporation, come on. Do we need to even add more to this?
I mean, we
What
could
they
talk.
They took over the WWF when it was at the top of its peak of ratings. I'm shocked it's not already in the Hall of Fame.
I think part of the reason it's not in the Hall of Fame is that there are too many members. Mr. McMahon, Shane McMahon, Triple H, The Rock, Ken Shamrock, The Big Boss Man, Shawn Michaels, Sergeant Slaughter, Joe Briscoe, Pat Patterson, The Big Show, Chyna, Kane, Test, and that's just like the very top page
That's
of
before the
Wikipedia.
corporate ministry merger, too.
Yeah, like that was like the corporate ministry merger. The Mean Street Posse, I think, were at the very least ancillary members of
They were in the
the
pre-bracket
corporation.
bracket.
I think it's kind of unfair.
It's still interesting we don't have the ministry on here.
Degeneration X merged at one point. It was a mega corporation. Like,
Yeah.
Like most corporations, it ate up everything else around them. And
Those vertical integrations, that's all about it. I want to give a shout out to people in the chat. Thank you so much for watching along with us as we talk wrestling. Charlie Harper says, seriously, the amount of star power in the Heenan family truly makes it all the factors of the record look like weak to big time. So he's a big fan of the Heenan family, which is a very, very, very awesome choice. If that would have made it, that would be fine as well, but did not. So let's talk about this. Jersey Triad, anyone for that? Any reasons why they would even have a chance in hell? Just kind of a contrarian kind of idea, support the boys from Jersey?
I think support the boys from Jersey.
Yeah.
It's an easier story to tell.
Right.
The Jersey Triad is the Jersey Triad. It's those three guys.
Yep.
It's those three guys. They're working together. They're going through it, and this is their impact on professional wrestling. Whereas I think the corporation, similar to the NWO, encompassed so much of pro wrestling that it becomes a really difficult way to like. So who is the corporation? Do we say that it's Shane McMahon, Mr. McMahon, Big Boss Man Ken Shamrock, and Gerald? Like, where do you start? Where do you stop?
Sure.
Like, I think for simplicity's sake, the argument would be for the Jersey Triad.
Okay. Well, simplicity's sake doesn't really count for a vote, does it?
I would argue and counter. You would just do the NWO rule where you take like the first 3 or 4 wrestlers and not leave out the guys who are the. Because if Bischoff's not in, then maybe you leave out Vince McMahon and you just say Rock, Big Show, and I can't remember who the next
Triple H.
Hogan ever be a Hall of Famer? Let's get a vote in here, guys.
All right, gentlemen, let's get our votes in. So, for the Jersey Triad, can I get any hands?
I'm going to say I'm going to go for Jersey
We've
Triad.
got one hand for Jersey Triad, which, gentlemen, I do believe that means that the
That means it's a
corporation
self-high-five.
is the winner by default. Thank you very much, gentlemen. The Jersey Triad is out of the game, and the corporation moves on.
Awesome. But before we do, I just want to say thank you so much for making us the ESPN of TV Talk. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share the show on social media with all your friends and even people you may think are into brackets or wrestling. It's always good to say that, hey, look, I found this. This is cool. Come check it out. AfterBuzz TV. Woo, 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 woo. Is available wherever you stream your podcast. So on iTunes, Spotify, all that, and of course, right here on YouTube.
And if I can jump in on
Jump
that,
in there, dude.
This is a new show, so sharing is super important. I know we talk about it all the time, but with new shows like this, that's the only way we can really get this information out there. So shares are super important.
I tie my self-worth to all the likes I get.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of a new show, more than sharing and views, engagement and suggestions are also super helpful to a brand new show that's finding its way and building its audience.
That's on point.
Please make sure to continue to talk in the comments, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us today. My name is Vito Scuddy, and I am so glad to be here as your game master. And with that, shall we move on, gentlemen?
Please.
Wait, you pronounce it Scuddy? I thought it was Scooty.
It's Scuddy.
All right, let's go. Write it down.
So, our next matchup in our pre-semifinals is the Nation of Domination versus the Radicalz.
Woo!
It's getting real, y'all.
It's getting real. We are the
It
nation.
really is.
of Domination. Now, these two groups have a similar vibe of taking the system and even shocking them.
Wow.
Both appeared in
So
WWE. I know. Thanks. Every comedy
welcome.
show I ever did. The Nation Domination definitely had a bit of a launching pad for a lot of guys in that group. The Radicalz were kind of almost like a launching pad for the WWE versions for these 4 members there. Let's talk about this. Which one's more impactful? Which one do you move on if you have the chance? Steve Kaufman.
This is a rough one. I'm going to say the Radicalz.
Just boom, with a bullet.
Yes, Radicalz with a bullet. I think their contribution to the business overall and the marquee members, the feel-good story, I think the Radicalz.
Okay, yeah, that's mic
simple.
drop.
Yes.
Do you have an 8x10 of Di Malenko there? You can show people how much you love him?
I have an 8x10 of Chris Benoit that I can't bring anywhere.
Fair enough. Okay. You made it weird.
It was way before.
Jack Walker, what's up?
This is one of those matchups that when I first looked at it, I'm like, oh, that's whatever. But now as I think about it, I'm like, it is a tough one to pick. I'm going to go with the Nation of Domination here because I think their culture, what they've done as culturally relevant and what they were talking about as a faction and all the people that were in it did move on to big things. And I feel like we remember the big things they did more than, for me, and this might just be me, with the Radicalz, I don't really remember a lot of their feuds that well as a team or what they did as a team that well. I mean, I remember they were a team and they came in together, but I don't really remember what they did as a unit.
True.
Where I remember the Nation of Domination, and I remember what they did. I remember them standing in the ring together, lined up, and I think they embodied what a faction is a little bit more.
I was on the fence going in, but hearing both of your arguments, I think it's kind of not a clear one for me, but I'm going to lean towards the Nation Domination as well. I had SmackDown exclusively as a kid, didn't have USA Network, so the Radicalz were a lot bigger. They were featured more. They were seen as like more of a marquee on the extra show back when there was the same storyline stretched out over a week. But the Nation Domination stood for a lot of things: in-ring work, tag teams, different combinations of tag teams, and I mean, you can't deny Owen Hart's work in that group too. So it wasn't just like a single idea or racial idea. It was like an idea of being held down by the man. That's my vote, the Nation of Domination.
Alrighty, fellas, are we ready to get to a final vote?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
And for Nation of Domination, can I get hands?
Hands.
We've got 2 hands, and for the Radicalz, Steve, thank you for your contribution. But the Radicalz do not move on. Nation of Domination moves forward into the finals. And now, gentlemen, we come to our second semifinal match. Team Canada versus the Corporation.
Ain't no chance in hell. The Corporation was one of the biggest factions of all time and one of the biggest storylines of all time. But there's something to say about Team Canada, not only as a WCW idea or even a TNA idea, just a philosophical idea of, hey, look, we are from a country which has so many fantastic superstars. We're constantly overlooked, but not anymore. That is my pick with a bullet. Team Canada, all the way.
Really?
Really? You can put it down. You can put it down.
Oh my God! Listen, Team Canada.
You're blushing. What are you doing?
You know, this is just proof that if you believe in yourself the way Team Canada did, you can take on the Misfits in Action, you can take on the Filthy Animals, and you can take on the Millionaires Club, and you can be remembered forever as part of the Hall of Fame with this guy,
You like
Lance
Skipper?
Storm.
Yeah. Wow. Help me out, Steve. Please don't do that.
So, the Corporation.
Yeah.
If we're gonna go the Hall of Fame route,
Right.
if you ask the average attendee of WrestleMania any year who the members of Team Canada are,
Yeah.
they would just name you Canadian wrestlers and maybe they'd land on Lance Storm. If you were to ask them members of the Corporation, granted that's a sampling error because there were literally 35 members of the Corporation,
Right.
they'd be able to name you 5.
Put sampling errors in wrestling.
To be fair, I think if you were just naming Canadian wrestlers, you still wouldn't get most of them. Team Canada.
I can do, if it was just stopping the street, definitely Storm. I can think of. I remember Skipper being there. Not even the whole TNA version. Because you know P.D. Williams did the whole thing. It's usually just Storm, maybe even like Skipper.
So are we including all the Team
TNA because they would never go into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
They're not eligible.
Also, Carl Ouellet and Jacques Rougeau were members of Team Canada.
Right.
for a
Those are
brief
the ones
moment.
I don't think of. When I think of like the 3 belts on Lance being like, this is a Saskatchewan hardcore international title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the 100 kilograms and under title, Canadian title. By the way, if you want to see absolute perfection, watch Lance Storm put those stickers on the belt dead center first time live on TV.
Wow.
It's absolutely crazy. He just goes, BAP, and it's absolutely
I
perfect.
can't even cut a bagel in half correctly. Steve, you're saying something?
I know like 30-year vets in production design and prop design specifically
Yeah.
who know they're not going to get it right on the first try and just design it in a way of like how the sticker comes off, right?
You're not
cool.
wrong.
Nope.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. Let's get a vote, man.
I vote corporate. I'm sorry.
Alrighty, gentlemen, let's get this vote in. So for Team Canada, can I get hands? We've got one hand.
I got to do it.
We've got 2
Sorry, I gotta do
hands
it.
for
It's
Team
our
Canada.
Upset win.
The upset win the Corporation does.
This is the worst
Not
pick we could have
move
done, but
on.
I am so happy as a fan right now. I cannot believe.
Real talk. Do you include Bret Hart?
Yes.
One night only, Bret Hart was a member of Team Canada.
That's a hard one for me, but hey, it's still the way to
At New Blood Rising, right?
Yes.
Gentlemen,
Yes.
Yep.
that leads us to our final round. But Flobo, do you have something for us
I
first?
do. So we talk about wishes and things we want to see in the Hall of Fame. And, you know, you heard the phrase, that guy or that gal is a future Hall of Famer. Just want to think about, what about someone who may be a future snub? Someone you know who's really a workhorse today that you have a feeling that won't be recognized for their work. Now, for me, currently in the WWE, has to be the group of the Liberators. We're talking Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Cesaro. I think it's interesting to me that every wrestler who's come up always has a positive Cesaro story. Sami Zayn has a way to make Shinsuke that much more of a dastardly heel, and the King of Strong Styles towards the twilight of his career, but he's putting a little bit more mileage as even in the IC title division. That's my pick. If there were to be a future snub, definitely the Liberators. What do you guys think?
I agree. I think all those guys are. I think people love all of them, but I couldn't already see time sort of forgetting them.
Yeah.
So, first I'm hearing of the current future snubs.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the challenge an extra level. I'm on WWE.com/superstars right now.
Woo!
And I will pick someone
Cedric Alexander.
right here,
Apollo
right
Crews.
now that I think
Who's this black? Oh,
will not be recognized in 20 years.
Mickey
And
James.
I think that answer will be Kurt Hawkins.
He's not recognized now.
Exactly. And he should be.
Why?
You know,
I made it to the C
and I'm from New York.
decided him.
You know what though? That's actually true because he's been wrestling with the WWE for a long time.
two
at
different
this point.
spots, yeah.
And Zack Ryder, people know who
Zack Ryder,
people
yeah.
know who Zack Ryder is.
Woo,
Like,
woo, woo. Yeah. What's Kurt
where's
Hawkins?
Kurt Hawkins? He's
Woo,
kind
woo,
of.
woo, woo. Yeah. Show some respect there. Shout out to Kurt Hawkins. Well, why would you think this? Because he's this tenure, or
I think his tenure, I think he's owned the idea of today's Brooklyn Brawler because we don't have enhancement talent.
Right.
So Kurt Hawkins is a
Josh
guy.
Conan Reeves in NXT?
Yeah.
I'm being honest with you.
I know, but like he's a guy who comes on television, who gets his character over enough that when he loses, it still makes sense, and like that's something similar to the Brooklyn Brawler that I like cannot be undersold.
As a kid, I hate the fact he was from Brooklyn. Give me the Queens Brawler, the Bronx Brawler. I was so upset he was from Brooklyn. We got to move on to our final round. This
All right, gentlemen.
Game Master, hit me.
Our final round is Nation of Domination versus Team Canada.
And a matchup I never thought was actually going to happen. Team Canada, one of the groups that took segments of WCW talking about the different division they controlled against the Nation of Domination, just wanted to be heard. WWE versus WCW, our final round. Gentlemen, what do you guys think?
I am flabbergasted that this is the last two.
You asked for this.
I never would have guessed. I am so proud of Team Canada right now. Guys, Major Guns. You know, before we get into the victory speech, we'll do that in a little bit. Right now, I just want to say the work you guys have put in to get here today hasn't gone unnoticed. And I am so proud of you guys.
Put yourself over, brother. Go ahead.
Oh, Canada.
Why they should win, John? That's the next
Are you? He's not ready for the finals.
I have no idea.
Team Canada is not ready for the finals of this bracket.
had no idea.
Nation of Domination,
Right.
which includes future president The Rock.
Right. The Rock President.
I think
Yeah.
those comments may age very well.
They probably will.
A celebrity would never be president. Why should Nation win today? You know?
I think Nation of Domination, for all the reasons we've already discussed, I think it formed what a faction can mean.
More
what
so
a
than Team
faction-
Canada.
More so than Team Canada, yes. That what a faction can be, it can be both a staple, a stable, and a launching point.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think with Team Canada, what we need to really think about is how well it was constructed. You had a clear leader, you had a clear valet, you had a clear cruiserweight, you had a big the muscle guy in Mike Awesome, you had a veteran in Hacksaw Jim Duggan. This was a team that didn't only represent a country, but also represented every division equally.
That is definitely true. They did cover the gamut in a very effective way because there were like 40 Canadians. There's so many of them. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to both. I never run on time, but I'll say this: Team Canada did a thing where you really felt every match mattered, even though Lance Storm had all 3 championships at once. But every match mattered because it was kind of this ideology. But the Nation of Domination had an ideology that was actually interesting. It wasn't just we're going to win. It wasn't just we are being held down. It was there's some things in our business that's unfair. Let's bring them to light. And it was implied, and sometimes it was explicit, sometimes it was implicit. I think it was pretty provocative for its time.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I think it's time for the vote. Before we do, Game Master, I want to give a shout out to Charlie Harper in the chat, who says Primo and Epico will probably be a snub one day, maybe Samoa Joe, unless they decide to induct them based on his accomplishments outside the WWE. Game Master, hit me.
Gentlemen, our final vote of Team Canada versus the Nation of Domination. Can we get hands for Nation of Domination? That's one.
Gotta do it.
That is two. Jack Farmer.
Always coming in second.
That exchange rate is killing us.
Gentlemen, we have our winner, our
Does Lance
Hall
get
of
a
Fame inductee wish. We've got Nation of Domination.
Can I say that Nation of Domination included one of the best wrestlers of all time, D'Lo Brown? Woo! The real deal now.
You have.
No,
You did.
Hey, many times.
all jokes aside, I think this is a great pick
Yeah,
for
they're a good
this
pick.
spot. I think the Nation of Domination is very underappreciated for the things they've done. The people in the stable are great, and obviously I'm a fan of Team Canada, but I think this is a great pick. I think we nailed it.
I agree. We totally nailed it here tonight.
Yeah.
Doing it, and
Before we get out of here, though, was there any one faction you were kind of surprised got eliminated earlier than you thought it would be?
Evolution.
really.
Fair enough.
Oh, Dangerous Alliance too, I guess. Sorry,
I
don't
thought, yeah,
mean to take
Dangerous
over.
Alliance Evolution.
That
I
was
thought
the
was
death bracket,
a
yeah.
rough matchup. Obviously, Team Canada shocking the world, making it to the final.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That cardio. For me, it's Team Angle. That was the one I thought would have gone a lot farther, but that Radicalz bracket was no chance for them. But it's now time for us to get out of here. Steve Kaufman, where can the world find you online, good sir?
The welcome on me right here, right now, but also on Twitter, almost exclusively at Steve Kaufman. That is KAUFMANN. I am heavily involved in the wrestling YouTube space, so if I'm tweeting the link, chances are I'm involved.
And you can find me at jackcfarmer.com as well as at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. You can also check me out on the AEW Dynamite After Show every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, as well as the WWE Raw Show every Monday night at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, as well as the AEW Social Media Scam every single Monday. And I have an opinion piece article up on AfterBuzz right now stating that Nick Aldis is the world's most valuable wrestler right now. Check it out and let me know what you think.
Game Master,
right.
where can the world find you?
Everybody, if you want to find your Game Master, you can find me on all platforms at VScuddy. That is VSCUTTI. Thank you very much. And Flobo, take it away.
You can follow me on Twitter at FloboBoys, on Instagram at Flobito. Flobito.com is a website. I'm selling t-shirts. Please buy one at Flobito.threadless.com. NXT after shows later on tonight, right here on AfterBuzz TV, Wrestling and Sports. But until next time, buzz you later.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.